It's been a busy week and a half, so this is lovely to connect to a wider group of people. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here today. I'll share my screen now. I've got okay, I think you need to give me the hosting rights, Kirsty, and then I can share my screen. If you make me host, and then I can share. Okay, perfect. So I'll just do my desktop, and then where is it? There we are. Oh, I hate it when it does this. There we go. I'll present this. Can everyone see this? Can everyone see the deck now? Yeah. Okay, I was just getting my camera back up. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so I just did a few little slides. So we've got loads of time in the diary, but I know all of you are super busy because you are all working, or most of you are, in addition, I believe, to doing your route through Manchester Code. So I just want to say personally how commendable that is. Very, very impressed with you putting the effort in to advance your kind of development and coding skills in addition to the day job. You know, I myself know sometimes it's hard enough to find the time for me to kind of brush my teeth in the day, let alone anything else. So from me to you, I just want you to know that I always believe that when people put in extra effort like you're doing with Manchester Code, for me, it is always recognised and rewarded. So keep up the great work. So with that time frame in mind, I'll probably talk for about 25, 30 minutes max. And then there's space for Q&A at the end, but you know, depending on how the conversation goes, you know, we can get some time back and you can all get back to your day jobs and your lovely sunny Friday. The purpose of my talk is literally to just give you a talk through the journey that I've been on in tech. I've had different roles, different career paths, and I just wanted to bring to light some of those different roles. None of them have been developer roles, so hopefully that's still of interest to you, but I've definitely seen myself as someone that's haven't had this long career to date in technology. I'll deep dive a little bit into what each of those roles were and talk about some of the companies I've worked for. I'll talk about my current role and what that entails with Codurance, and then just really try and summarize a little bit in light of the journey that some of you are on and you're starting your career in technology, what might be some helpful hints to go forward, hopefully. And like I say, we'll just open it up at the end for any questions, if anything comes through. So in terms of who I am, so like I say, I'm Amelia. I'm currently working for a company called Codurance, and I'll bring to life a little bit more who they are when I talk about my current role. But as a headline, we are a software consultancy, and we've got offices in London, Manchester, and Barcelona. So like I say, I've always worked in the technology as an industry or sector, so to speak. I've done that for 16 years. So I'm definitely giving away some trade secrets here. But yeah, and I've had 5 different roles, which on the next slide, like I say, I'll bring to life a little bit for you. It's kind of core to this presentation, and I've worked across multiple industries. So how did I find my career in technology? So literally fell into it at university, but I wouldn't change a thing. I definitely didn't put in any of my high school or college applications or visions for my future career that I was going to carve a career out in tech. If anything, it was definitely one of the GCSEs that I dropped initially. So yeah, I never saw myself here, but how I fell into it, I knew that I did want to work in business. I saw myself in a kind of business and corporate environment. didn't know doing what. And I applied for many different university courses at the time. I ended up being accepting the one with Liverpool John Moores University. And it was kind of a business, and it was called Business and Information Studies. I didn't really know what that information element meant. But I accepted it because the place, the degree, everything kind of worked for me. So I moved to Liverpool, started this degree, and what I found out, or pleasantly surprised about, was that it was a very modern, it was a very new degree course. And even at that time of the early noughties, you know, business and therefore educational institutes were realizing that you can't talk about business and technology separately. So even those many moons ago, there was this strong belief that business and technology were hand in hand for the future direction we were going in this landscape. And what that meant was, normally a traditional business degree or course would have been maybe a marketing module, maybe your human resources element, all these kind of things. But my degree very much focused on how technology was intrinsic to helping businesses develop. And back then, Amazon was just starting out, and it was one of our case stories at the time, looking at them, talking about the dot-com bubble and how that, and how companies were reestablishing themselves with that technology focus. And I loved it. It's very theoretically based. I would say there was about 20-30% practical based. We did do a little bit of HTML here and there, but nothing kind of as intensive as you're all doing. But I thoroughly enjoyed putting that theoretical side to how technology was enabling businesses, and I was so pleased that I found that through the degree course, really. So that's how I fell into it, and then who I am outside of the day job. So I've got 2 young girls that are upstairs right now, so I apologize if they interrupt. They seem to be playing nicely. You never quite know how long that's going to last for. But, something that I'm really passionate about, I try and be very active in the women in technology community space. And, I can already see through my own career how much the industry has changed and opened up. When I reflect back to some of my original teams I worked in, again, I would always be the only female in the team, and it's great to see how much that is changing. A few other things that I'm passionate about is definitely enabling more people into tech by different directions and routes. It's great. That's why I'm always so blessed and so grateful when I can speak to people like yourselves, because I'm aware that my route into technology is a little bit traditional, and if anything, it's probably it's very soon to be outdated. And I love all the different ways and initiatives we can bring people into tech, and sometimes that can be career changes or the tech returners, and there's loads going on in this space, and I always really enjoy connecting in with them where I can. And having 2 young girls, I just always want to be as much of a role model to them, that whatever role or career path or job you want to take, it's all about just setting in that direction like you're all doing now, believing in yourselves. And yes, there is an element of hard work, unfortunately, but that's what it's all about. Currently, my 6-year-old wants to be an astronaut, which is great, but I do try and tell her that you do need to apply yourself and do your maths homework here and there, so which has varied responses at different times. So that is me. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about who I am and where I've come from in my career. To give you a little bit of a timeline then to some of the roles that I've had and the different companies I've had. So I mentioned that I went to Liverpool John Moores, thoroughly enjoyed doing my degree there and learning more about the business and technology space. I then did go on to do a master's for a year in Leeds, just to give you every detail of my education and career path, because I just enjoyed my degree so much. I ended up doing a master's, an MSc at the time, on information management in Leeds, at Leeds Met. convinced my parents it was purely for career enhancement capabilities and not because Leeds was a really fun place to live after 3 years in Liverpool. But yeah, I had a great year there and came out with my master's as an aim to just try and be a bit more competitive in the recruitment space. So luckily it paid off and I got my first job as a graduate back in 2004. I applied to a number of different graduate schemes, and Logica CMG, who are no longer called that, they've been through different variations. I think they're currently just they just CMG now, there's something different anyway. And I got the role of a business analyst. I had no idea what this role actually meant, but at the time it seemed like a really competitive salary, especially when you've not been earning anything for years. And I knew I needed to start paying my own way and paying the parents back at some point for all the help through my degree. So I took the job in London, and what the role of a business analyst actually entailed, it was perfect for someone like myself that very much sees myself as that what's the word, that middle person sometimes between the technology teams and the stakeholders. So my role was to go into it was another consultancy, so we would go into other companies or organizations. I worked very heavily in the public sector, so I was working on projects with the DWP, for example. They'd be paying Logica CMG to build a brand new IT system. It was my job, and sometimes there'd be multiple business analysts depending on the size of the project. We would go in, we would set up workshops, we would speak to the clients about what was required, what the problem was initially. Are we all aligned the problem we're trying to fix? Enable the business further through technology? Are we building the right system? Once we're all aligned on that, what does the system, what are the features, what does it need to look like, what are some of the metrics and the usage and the volumes and some of the KPIs that we're going to measure the success of this IT system. So as a business analyst, your core skill set is very much around communication. You need to be able to speak to stakeholders, and you also need to be able to speak to the rest of the delivery team and the technology and the developers you're working with to bring those requirements to light and input them into whatever delivery methodology you're using to deliver that IT system. So very much organizational skills are paramount. There was a lot of workshops, a lot of facilitation, a lot of, really helping workshops and meetings flow to the best outcome, making sure everyone's time is being used effectively and you're getting the most value out of workshops, and you're writing up the requirements, and when questions are asked of you, you understand, you've kind of put that end user hat on, so to speak. Very much like a product owner, you understand what the problem is you're trying to fix, you understand what the wants and needs of the end users are. So when you're speaking to the technical team, the technical people like the engineers, you can translate what it is you really need to make sure that when the IT system is being built, the right tech is being applied and the right features are being applied in the right priority order. So when we come to release that tech, the end users are having their immediate needs met, and they are happy. That's all happy path. Probably got a whole other presentation of when things don't go that smoothly, but anyway, that's always the ultimate aim as a business analyst. And that's why someone like myself that really enjoys working with people, really enjoys very organized, I'm good at facilitating and bringing people together. I don't always have all the answers. Well, I definitely don't. I'm not a low-level technical person, but I make sure the right people as a business analyst are in the room and we can talk things through together. What I am kind of also really passionate about is learning about new businesses and new organizations and industries, so that you spend a period of time getting into that mindset as a business analyst, so you understand the problem space you're working in, the industry you're working with, so that you can apply that when you're being asked questions about what the right thing to do is when you're building those features, for example. So I spent, circa 2 years with Logica CMG, lots of travel as a consultant, I lived out of. I was like Alan Partridge, living in, I think it was a travel lodge up in the northeast for a long time, working with my first project with the DWP. So these are some of the joys that come with being a consultant in tech, but like I learned so much from all of these roles. I wouldn't change a thing. The time came to move in-house. I always lived in the northwest, lived and worked in and around Manchester. So when I was working in London, I was commuting and doing a Monday to Thursday, or to the northeast, wherever the project was. There came a point where I tried to move a bit closer, bring my work into the northwest, took a job with Vertex, who similar-ish to Logic and CMG, still a consultancy, but they provided a few more services, similar type of role in the analyst space. Then I ultimately found a non-consulting role. So I call this working in-house, if you're familiar with that term. So for those that know JD Williams and Brown, massive company and employer in the tech space. Kirsty's going to say something. Go on, Kirsty. Are you on mute? I can't hear you.
No.
Yeah. There you go, I can hear you.
People in the lobby trying to get in, but because I'm not host, I can't let them in.
Oh, right, yeah, sure. So how do I do it? You have to educate me on this. So if I go...
You go to participants.
Oh, yeah, let me see.
You might see some people in the lobby.
Let's have a look. Oh, hello, Aaron. Andrea.
I didn't realise people were waiting.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, loads more joining. This is good. Is that everyone? Oh, so, yeah, great.
All right, sorry about that.
Thanks. That's all right. I'll keep an eye. Just wave if anyone else needs to come in. So for those that have joined, I'm Amelia. I'm just talking a little bit around, so the nature of today's chat is just my journey into tech. I'm a technology person, but I'm not a developer. So I'm just trying to bring to life some of the roles that I've had over the last 16 years. We've been talking about my role as a business analyst, and we're just talking about my time at JD Williams and M Brown Group. Thoroughly enjoyed my time working there. They have a massive technology team in their office in Lever Street. I worked in the e-business team. Particularly, I was a business analyst within the e-commerce team, and what I absolutely adored about that role was the ability, like I say, when you're a business analyst, you're always trying to get in the mindset of that end user, get in the mindset of the industry. And sometimes that can be alien to you because it's not an industry you're familiar with. But I think sometimes it's really nice when you're working as a business analyst and you're working in a space where you can apply your own personal understanding and experiences to that role. So what was really good about that role is working for some of the brands and the websites and being their business analyst. You know, there were often times that I was obviously on websites for my own personal needs and admin. Sometimes they'd be for retail. I could be on ASOS and be like, oh, what are they doing now? Why aren't we doing that? And you can very easily translate what's going on in the market in different areas and then bring that back to your day job. And I love that when you can kind of combine the two of like your personal life and your work life. And sometimes you could just be on any other website and you'll be like, oh my gosh, how easy is this? The click-throughs are really good. It's really simple, it's really intuitive, and you know that is always the aim for any kind of online and retail website and what have you, is to have that ease of use for the customer. And alternatively, the amount of websites that I've been on, I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible. I don't know how you find that now you're doing this course. Oh, 1 second, that'll be my phone. Excuse me. Yeah, so I just love it. But what I found, like with lockdown, I must annoy like my husband immensely. We'll go somewhere and there'll be a new app and it's like you scan your QR code, and sometimes people are doing it really well in the restaurants and stuff. And I went somewhere the other day, I won't name names, And I was just like, God, this app, there's no PayPal. I've got to put my card in every time. It's really clunky. I had to restart my order. I was just trying to order like a few coffees and a bit of breakfast. And I was like, they really should have spent a bit longer, or I hope they're still iterating on this app, because I'm feeling very frustrated right now. So these are the kinds of boring conversations you have as a business analyst, because you're always critiquing how well someone has applied tech. And there's loads of new tech out there, which is great for all of you as a result of the changing world we're in. Really strong industry in place for us to be right now. So yeah, be mindful to critique things yourself and take some of the things you really enjoy and try and bring them into your own practices as well. Yeah, is there someone else? Yeah, let me have a little look. Oh, here we go. There we go. I think that's us. Hello to everyone that's joined. I'm Amelia. We're just talking through some of my previous roles in tech. Thank you for joining. So yeah, as a business analyst, hopefully that's brought to life some of the general things you're doing in terms of building out the requirements for the system, working with the stakeholders, and working with the technology team to realise that vision. So then after my time as a kind of e-commerce business analyst at JD Williams, I moved to Vodafone. And my role at Vodafone was kind of the senior business analyst. So I was managing a team of business analysts there. So it was just kind of adding in a little bit of a kind of new area for me in terms of that team and people management aspect. Which was great for my career progression. As you can see, I spent 7 years at Vodafone. So initially we had an office in Didsbury on the Towers Business Park, and then we moved to a much bigger office. Some of you may have seen it when driving near the Manchester airport. So they've got a massive office now in Wythenshawe, and I was part of the team when we did the move there as well. So great times, great journey. And again, just to really highlight the point, I took loads of different roles at Vodafone. So it just goes to show the different paths that you can take just through your time working in tech. So I started as this kind of like business analyst, team manager. And then because of some of the core skills that I'd mentioned before in terms of my organization, my love to kind of facilitate meetings, put meetings in, bring people together. A next logical step, a very well-trodden path in technology, is the move from a business analyst to a delivery manager or project manager. And I took on the role as a senior project manager, again, just opening up some new opportunity areas for me and helping me develop and move forward. So yeah, so again, to bring to life what my day looked like or my week looked like as a project manager. So I would be working with all of the delivery team. So I would be working with the business analysts, making sure that they are on track. Is there anyone else to come in, Kirsty? No, fine, I was just checking. Anyway, you know, you're very much responsible and accountable for the full delivery of the project. So what that means, you've got a delivery team, and sometimes it might be your responsibility to bring that team together, depending on the type of organization. Who are your developers going to be? Who is your QA going to be? Are you going to have a UX? Do you need a product owner? You know, who's your business analyst going to be? So you bring everyone together, and just to really kind of give you an overview of a project manager, you bring the team together, you're very much involved with the budget and the financing of the project. So how much do we think the project is going to cost? And you've got all potentially the commercials around day rates, number of days, what are you using to cost and estimate the project, you know, all these fundamentals. And then when you've got a general idea for what your roadmap and delivery is going to be, your day-to-day job is, I was just in my role, which I was delivery manager for quite a number of years, was always just to protect the team. One analogy that I've kind of thought of, I don't know if it's any good, is like I just used to see myself as like a snow sweep like in front of the team. I could never let the team slow down or be obstructed. So my job is to always kind of, you know, make sure that I'm getting everything out of the path from the developers or anyone on my team that would maybe hinder them coming into work every day, would that be physical or virtual, and just applying their best selves. They don't need to be worried about small administrative things like, or they need to have all their logistics, all their kit. They need to have access to the right systems. You know, so where problems come up, it's always, it's my role as delivery manager to you know, enable and ensure the team had all their obstructions taken away so they can do what they are best at doing, whether that be writing great code or what have you. So yeah, it's about keeping the team motivated, making sure you've got the right cadences in, the right ceremonies, you're doing the retros at the right time, people are doing the actions, you know, just the team has a way of working that's embedded within them and a culture that just means people can come in, they know what's expected of them every day, and we're always measuring ourselves and making ourselves better. And as a result of that, another key fundamental role as a delivery manager, project manager, is the reporting and the progress of the team. So my last project, which I'll come to, was at ThoughtWorks in this role, and very much I had a lot of time where I spent on reporting. So how's the burn up? How are we burning up against the backlog? Are we on track? Has something slowed us down? And because again we were a consultancy in that instance, it was my responsibility to speak to the client stakeholders. So we would have regular catch-ups and I'd be like, oh, we're under velocity this week, but that test environment was down. We know it's impacted all the teams. We think we can get that velocity back this week because there were some stories that are quite easily going to be signed off and take us away. So these are the kind of conversations I'd have. So as a delivery manager, you can be having the difficult conversations. So again, your kind of skill set, you know, if you're the kind of person where you're good at communication, you enjoy working with people, talking to people, you're organized, you can set up meetings, you can facilitate meetings, and you can help people understand different things that are going on. And often my time would be, if we hit a blocker, I'd maybe put a deck together and say, this is the problem, these are the different ways we can solve it, discuss. So again, it's always important to know you don't ever need to have all the answers yourself. All you need to do is bring your own personal skill set. And that's the great thing about cross-functional teams. We all bring a different flavor of skill set, of personality, and the combination of us together as a delivery team always gets us there. And, you know, when I was having those really difficult technical conversations, you know, don't get me, I've always got a tech lead in the room or an engineer in the room that can help bring that to life. And, you know, and I bring other key aspects into the meeting to make sure it's set up correctly, it's facilitated right, we get to the end point of the meeting we need. I write up and make sure everyone's accountable for what they're set to do. So it's the blend of all the different roles that leads us to success. And then just to bring that portfolio manager for me, so my final role at Vodafone, after being a senior project manager myself, I moved into, so I kind of had my own budget and portfolio program of work where I would have a key stakeholder in Vodafone in the B2B market. So it wasn't in the consumer market. A lot of you will be very familiar with. We delivered big business packages to small to medium businesses, and I was responsible for the budget that we spent every year on those systems within Vodafone. And I had a key stakeholder in the business that I would write up specs for, project plans, and make sure there were project managers on point to deliver all the things we hoped to achieve that year. And again, often sometimes when we didn't, it would be me having those conversations with the senior management team to let them know. Okay, and so my final role at ThoughtWorks, yes, again, another consultancy. So again, you can see this blend. Vodafone, it was an in-house team, as we would call it. I was working with people that worked there day to day, and we had our own technology teams. Going into ThoughtWorks was like going back to Logica, CMG and Vertex, where you you're a consultant and you go into other companies to help them build technology systems to enable them to kind of move forward as a business or close off some current problems they have. And the great thing about ThoughtWorks is they're very keen not to pigeonhole you. So I came in and was like, hey, I'm Amelia, I'd love to work for you. And they were like, great, you can be a business analyst or a delivery manager. Oh, here we go. 1 second. Oh, right. I do apologize. Yes, if it's not too loud, sweetie. Right. There you go. Sorry. I knew it was going to be too good to be true to hide for an hour. So the great thing about ThoughtWorks is, you know, depending on what project we were doing at the time, I would either put on my business analyst hat, dust that off, or put my delivery manager skill set to practice. And again, it was an absolutely great number of years where I worked in ThoughtWorks. So yeah, so again, and it's only when I reflect and think about the different roles I've had that I actually think, gosh, I've had quite a few. For me, it's like, oh, I just, you know, I've tried to go to work every day and do the best that I can do with what is set in front of me. It's only when you reflect, you can see how your career can kind of just naturally go in different directions. And I think that's a really nice thing to know from working in technology is even though you start in a certain role, developers I've seen move into QA roles and QA to developer. I've seen QAs moved into the business analyst role. You can see from me, you know, I went through a path that was BA to delivery manager, and then I'll talk a bit more about what I do today. But every role teaches you something that you can then apply to another role potentially, and hopefully with space for new skills to be kind of taken on board at the time. I think the last point I want to pull out from this slide is, I probably didn't mention it as I went, but the just number of industries that I've worked in across these roles. Obviously, you've got the retail there with JD Williams, telecoms at Vodafone, at ThoughtWorks being a consultancy. I worked across the motor industry, the healthcare industry, another online retailer, big brand. So, and again, I just find that fascinating that because I just have this core skill set of maybe being an analyst or being a delivery manager or combination of the two, as long as you bring that to every engagement, you can work across so many different industries. And I love that element of just getting to know, you know, about that industry, what makes them tick, what are their customers like, what do their end users need, what's their current state of play with tech, are they quite old school or are they quite cutting edge, and what are we trying to do in that? And I just love that element that just because of the jobs that I do, I can basically work across any industry there is. And again, it just opens the job market up massively, which I find really, really exciting about working in tech. So just checking, is everyone okay? I can't see everyone with my presenter view, but no burning questions yet. Should I carry on? Is this all landing okay? Okay, cool. Yeah, so I just really, oh, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so my current role, and if you can go away today and understand what I do, you'll be doing much better than my family and friends who just kind of like have no idea and glaze over quite a lot when I talk about work, because they just think I work in tech, and then they ask me like, oh, can you fix my laptop? And I'm like, oh yeah, not so much. But anyway, so I'm currently regional director for Codurance. I started the role in lockdown, so I interviewed and took the role, and I've been working now 5 months. It's just mad how quickly this year has gone. Yeah, so what does a regional director do? Don't worry, no pop quiz at the end. So I'm very much responsible. So I'm responsible for the Manchester office that I mentioned we have. I'm responsible for making sure that we are connecting in with the right companies in the areas for that trends and analysis. So what companies might be doing particularly well this year against some others that we know might be struggling in the current climate. So who are the companies that are looking to build on their tech and have the budget to do so this year, and how can Codurance with our skill set and team of people help them deliver on what they need to from 2020 into 21. Again, I'll be first point of contact for kind of senior client engagement. So when we're working on projects, making sure that our ways of working and our deliverables are all achieving the value that that client is paying us for, and coming from that kind of delivery manager role, I should say, where I've had the responsibility of talking to clients, having the good conversations, having the not good conversations. You can see just how different parts of my roles have taken me to kind of hopefully the place that I am now, that you feel comfortable facing into some of these things because through your career you've had exposure to it in different areas. So brand awareness, marketing and sales is something probably you can see from the previous slide isn't my strength, isn't my forte. You know, I've always worked in that kind of very much inwardly facing tech delivery team. But again, this was the one area that I was really excited about, because with every role I take, I try and say, well, I can offer this, but there's some other areas that will be a bit newer to me and I know I can learn them. So it's always about, I always try and with every role just kind of push myself a little bit further. And I was very open and transparent about where where I come with like years of experience, and also where I'm excited to kind of face into and build myself out on this kind of role and opportunity. So that's something that's always really keen to me. I'm always very competitive with myself. And then, yeah, delivery assurance, just like I say, once the projects are in flight, just making sure we're delivering on everything we have set out to achieve and deliver for the clients. I have a team of people. So again, there's the people management, which I love and adore. I'm very passionate about career development. You know, I've met some amazing people through that timeline. You've just seen so many people that have championed and helped me on my career. And I like to give something back, and anything I can do to springboard people's career or help them avoid maybe some of the steeper learning curves that I've had, that's something, again, I'm always really passionate about. Yeah, recruitment, tech's an exciting place to be right now. We're growing our Manchester offering, and so something I'm always really keen to do. It's very competitive in Manchester, which is great for you lot. There's some great people that are hiring, and yeah, they're just, I think the ball will be in your court, coming with great skills, great talent and a great kind of attitude. There's more, I think, jobs and vacancies in tech in Manchester right now than people. Yeah, and then I do a lot of work with the rest of the leadership team from Codurance on what is the direction of the company in the UK, in Manchester, and globally as well, with our Barcelona offering and anywhere else we choose to go. And obviously, like you will have heard so many times this year, with the change in ways of working, you know, that's changed our strategy. It's almost like there were times where you're like, you know, why do we define ourselves as Manchester when no one's actually in the office anymore? But we're still committed to some of our more regional strategies. But the change in ways of working, I think, has opened up more potential for global opportunities, and we are probably going for more of those, because we know we can bid for a piece of work in America and it doesn't mean we have to send a team of people to America, which is very exciting for us in terms of new opportunities opening up. So that's a bit of a summary about kind of what I do day to day. So I'm less involved with the inwardly facing of the project delivery to the team, and kind of a bit more outwardly facing in terms of like representing us as a company, especially in the Manchester space. which was something I was 100% looking for. So when this job found me, I was like, that is 100% what I'm after, because there's a lot of community work that I suppose I haven't mentioned in those bullet points, but like I said at the start, loads of passions, loads of things around women in tech, bringing more people into the technology space, opening up the different pathways people can find their right career. And again, I just feel so blessed when I can do things like this today, and it's all part of the day job. Because things like that really light me up. And this job kind of enabled me to do it as part of the role, which is great. So I think this is the kind of last key slide. How are we doing for time? Yeah, last key slide. So really, the takeaways, what would I say? I think this is just a recap, really. I've probably pulled it out because these are my little things I get very excited about. So just great to be in tech. You're doing 100% the right thing. You know, so many opportunities. As long as you focus on yourself, know who you are, know what you're bringing into that team. Like I say, people have different skills and different personalities, and every single one of them is exactly where it needs to be. Don't ever try and change who you are. Do what feels right in a way that feels comfortable to you, and you will still find you've got so many opportunities available to you across multiple industries. And there are different roles. You're coming in, you're building out your development skill set, and that is great. And you might be like, I want to be tech lead, I want to be owning those tech decisions in X amount of time, and that's great. Or you might be like, oh, actually, I really like that kind of business side of things, and I feel I do have quite a good, communication skill set, and I'd like to bring that into my day job a bit more. Maybe a business analyst, right, as you. But if you've got those pure development skills, you are like gold. There's been many a time where I've kind of wished I could have talked a bit more at the kind of code base level. But I've not come through that route. But if I've worked with BAs that are so much more technically minded because of the career path they've been on, and that is a really, really excellent and strong position to be in. So never feel you're contained to a certain role or career path. There are lots open to you in technology. Why do I love my job and get very excited? No 2 days are the same. So one second. So I've had the usual jobs through my education routes. I've worked in Sainsbury's on the checkout for many, many years, through college and university. I've done call center jobs, which are all great, and I've had a great time. But for me, something I was really passionate about when I was finding my role in my career is finding a career where you're not looking at the clock during the day. You are so into what you're doing that it's like the day goes really quickly. You're so into what you're doing. To the next point, you develop every single day. I think I learn something new every day. And sometimes I learn how not to do something again because it didn't go very well. I know I'm very cheery and positive now, but we've all had those days. But I know everything I've been through in each of those roles has kind of like made me the person I am today, those experiences, the people I've worked with. And yeah, so I just love it because I find it's a great place to be with the amount of things you can learn yourself around technology, just around delivery and business, and working with great people as well. And yeah, tech is ever evolving. It's not contained. So it's not like, oh, I'm working in this industry and there's maybe a bit of a ticking clock against it, because we know the world's going to ultimately move away from it at some point. Tech is ever changing, so it keeps all of us on our toes with what the latest and coolest things are to be using and learning about. And it just means businesses are always needing new technology, so they need people like us, which is great. So they were my main takeaways, really. I hope that was helpful, and I really wish you all the best of luck, and I hope you find your own career in tech, and I look forward to hearing how you all get on. And yeah, if you ever need anything from me, don't be shy. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, ask me any questions, or bounce any ideas off me, either directly, or if you want to go through Andrew or Kirsty, that's fine. So I think I'll move on to Q&A now. If anyone has anything, hopefully that was okay. I might stop sharing. Stop sharing, then I can do gallery view. Is everyone still there? Was that helpful?
I think everyone's still there. I think somebody may have submitted a question through the chat. I don't know if you can see that, Amelia.
Oh, let's have a look. Yeah. From Jennifer. Hi, Amelia. Thank you. That was really inspiring and motivating. Out of interest, what formal qualifications, if any, would you say have been beneficial to your career? And what other personal development have you done, which you've drawn on frequently? Okay, good question. So, like I say, I mean, I did go through somewhat of a more traditional, yet probably soon to be quite old school route of, you know, for me at the time to get onto a graduate program. This was early noughties though. Yeah, obviously my degrees helped me at the time. I think the world is changing though. I think for me, it's just about getting that first role, which I know is easier said than done, but you just, once you get into the job market, right, and you can start building your CVs out with practical things you've done and pushing yourself and pushing your skill set, it's just that first opportunity which you can build on. And at that point, even from me, someone who does a lot of recruitment, you don't necessarily, I don't look back at people's qualifications once they've got, you know, a level, they've got some experience that they can bring into the team at that level. With the best tech lead I ever worked with did not have a university degree. And I would only know that because he told me, but I wouldn't have known that otherwise. He was amazing. He was at university, he dropped out, found tech through some route, some guy that was doing it, offered him a job, and he just taught it himself. And now he is amazing. So does that answer your question, Jennifer, in terms of the qualifications? I can't see, but oh, we've just got someone in the waiting room. One second. There we go. Hi, Aaron and Daniel. We're just moving on to the Q&A. And just to Jennifer's point about what are your own personal development, which have you done, which you draw on frequently, I think the key takeaway that I reflect on, what's my best learning I've learned through my career? And do you know what it is? I was trying to make the point before, just be yourself. Like, I know it's really easy, not easy for me, but I come on here now today looking very positive, and like my career has just been one big, you know, easy thing. And I'm obviously very confident in what the roles are and what I can bring to them, but that's been a journey, you know. For me, I'm conscious I'm quite a big personality. I get very excited, and there have been times where I've probably tried to temper myself and probably been a bit quieter, a bit more subdued, because I felt, oh, that's how I need to be. And I'm like, do you know what? And some of the best feedback I ever got, and this was a gradual thing that built up to make me realize something, I actually got the best results from people in terms of interacting with them, and from the delivery team I was on, and sometimes the people I was managing, when I was just myself, literally just myself. Like, you know, there was no work me, home me, you know, I'm quite an open, transparent person, quite easygoing. And when I just bring that into the workplace, I don't try and temper it in any way. Actually, I found that's what the best results. And it was okay, because you know, other people, it was kind of like that was what I brought into the team. So I think sometimes people quite liked how big and bubbly I was, because they weren't, and they didn't like to do that, and they didn't want to have to fill that space. So, and that's what I was on about, if we all bring something different to the teams we work in. So all I'd say is the best personal development is just work out who you are, what your strengths are, what you bring to the team, and don't try and change them. Just know what they are and bring them to the team. So I don't know if that is helpful, but that was a journey for me. So okay, some more questions. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. How flexible have you found the industry when you have parental responsibilities? How can you demonstrate passion and commitment, but also balance to other responsibilities? Ooh, thanks, Kirsty. Good question. So yeah, gosh, well, let me just think. Do you know what? I found the industry flexible. I think I've said to you, Kirsty, or was it Andrew? Like, so the combinations I've been on in my working career since having kids. So I went back to Vodafone on a 4-day week. They were really good with this. Like, you know, whether I'm just lucky or whether just people know me. I think the thing is, I'll get to that point in a minute. So I did 4 days of Vodafone, went back up to full time. At ThoughtWorks, I started there. My youngest of the two was only 9 months. I did a 4-day week. Then I went up to, I think, did I go back to full time at one point? That was pretty intense, actually, when they were still quite young. And it's just about knowing what works for you. And I started doing a 9-day fortnight, so every other Friday off. And that was just for me time. I didn't even have the kids at that point because they were in nursery, just because I found, you know, to be honest, I found it all quite a lot. But I knew I loved work. And I loved it. So it's just about, I kept tweaking things, and it changes as the kids change in age. And then I think I went back to just a 4-day week, again, for just some time for myself. And then I've gone back up to full time now. They're both in school. My youngest has just started reception. So the industry, but I always meet companies in the middle. So for me, and this is me as a kind of manager and a recruiter as well, like things like that don't worry me when you have the ultimate trust and belief in that person. Okay, if someone of my team asked me for that and I just knew they were a superstar, it's like, yeah, do whatever you need, because I know you're going to put in just so much in the time we have with you. And it's not like I'm expecting someone to do the 5 days and the 4 days or any of that nonsense. I just know you're a superstar, and we need to just not worry about some of this other stuff in terms of hours and days. And as long as, you know, clients are happy, I'm a big believer that your clients and your deliveries will always be good if your team are happy and supported. So it's about that. But I know that when I've been on different variations of work, you know, I love my job and I work very hard. So there's people you just have a bit of a reputation for working hard and delivering as to the best of your abilities. That means that when you have to ask those questions, people are always happy to kind of meet you in the middle a little bit, because they're happy to keep you happy, so to speak. So yeah, I've done loads of combinations. I think there's still work to do to push the boundaries and make flexible work. It's definitely changing. And I think 2020 is going to help with this a lot. Because I think my biggest challenge recently before COVID was that commute and school run and being in the office every day. And I loved what I did, but I just found, you know, and if I had to pick the kids up from nursery at 6, which isn't even that early, I'd be leaving the office in Manchester City Centre at 4:30 to walk to Piccadilly to get the train. And you'd feel like, oh God, I'm skiving a bit, you know, I'm leaving an hour and a half early, but there's no other way to do it. And I didn't even do that every day. That'd be, you know, I'd figure my childcare out. So that would only be once, maybe twice maximum a week. And I was lucky enough to make that work. But yeah. So what would my main takeaway be? But don't be scared to ask for what you need. I've probably had a lesson there where I've probably been a bit too slow to ask, and it's impacted me. I've got burnt out. Be clear with what you want. At one point I was like, I just need to finish at 3 on a Friday so I can do one day I pick the kids up from school and they haven't got after school club. Just be bold. But again, that confidence has come over time. So does that answer that question, Kirsty? Yeah, cool. Jen, what is it like to be working in tech industry as a mom? How flexible have you found your previous employer? Okay, that's right. Hopefully that's answered that, Jen. Perfect. I think, yeah, but there are different combinations. And now, so don't get me wrong, I can't wait to get back in the office. But I will find a blend. And there've been times where I've just been like, I was doing one project, I was commuting to Leeds, so those days were quite long, and I'm lucky I get this, you know, but even from a family where I say you have to always meet your employer in the middle, put the hard work in, but it's like with the family as well, I'm lucky enough, like I put a shift in when I need to, but I get a bit of help so I can get an early train when I need to. So for me, it's all about give and take and balance. And it's such a unique thing to find what works for you as a family. And, you know, it depends on so many other things. But yeah, it just got to the point where we're meant to be in Leeds 3 days a week. And I just said, well, I'll do 2 days and then I'll be working from home. And it was fine, you know, I was on Zoom all day and it's not a problem, but it just took that commute out of it. But I know if I tried to do the 3 days, I probably would have had to leave the project because it just would have been too much. How do you learn how to hold effective retrospective meetings when you're working in agile teams? Oh yeah, I love a retro. Definitely for me, so just make sure they're non-negotiable. So my last project where I was delivery manager, they were every fortnight, non-negotiable. You need to try and make them not necessarily a bit fun, like not too formal. And I think people can, I mean, I don't know where this question's coming from, but if people just take them a bit personally and they're not being as open and honest. So just make sure you're doing your health and safety check at the start, as per obviously best practice, but try and rotate the facilitator. So on a team, I'd always be like, you know, I'm always really keen as a delivery manager that I'm not doing absolutely everything for everyone all the time, which people will literally let you do. So I was like, how are we rotating the facilitation? We do is sometimes a theme, like so I did a retro and I did it Manchester based. I think it was my last retro in the delivery team before I left ThoughtWorks. And so I did like, I did like different Manchester songs to say what went well. So like, what could we do better? I'm trying to think of what some of them were. And then at the start, you know, and then you do a funny Manchester backdrop on your Trello, for example, if you've got Trello, and you just try and sometimes we try and do different themes. Like everyone who was facilitating was like, oh, we did a Christmas theme, like a Scrooge one, a Christmas, you know, Ghost of Christmas Past, Present for like, and you just try and I think the key thing is the more you do them, I think the less people find them less like, oh, it's a feedback or attack on me or my ways of working. So definitely the regularity, always if go through the prime directive at the start, just to remind people, you know, and I think they're great because there was some feedback I got that was really, really helpful as a delivery manager. So I got a bit points obsessed in my last role because I knew the client always wanted to see the graph going up for the burn up. And so that made my life easier if we just all hit our points every iteration. But I got some feedback that it wasn't helpful to the team to talk about points that much because sometimes it might impact like how quickly they would work through something and impact the quality. And that was great. But if I hadn't got that in a retro, it might have turned into a bigger deal. Someone would have had to put a separate session in with me. And then but the fact it was in a retro, I was like, that's great. That's a really good call out on our ways of working. And it's always bring the point back to we as a team always need to be reflecting and getting better. That is the whole purpose of Agile. And this is just one route to get there. Does that help? Kirsty? Yeah. Okay, cool. For people getting their first role, have you enjoyed working for smaller companies or bigger corporates, and what are the payoffs, drawbacks of both? Ooh, do you know what is interesting? It's such a balance, and sometimes there's definitely pros and cons. I loved working for big corporates, being quite a sociable person. There's just an aspect of, I just loved going in the office and being surrounded by people every day, just from an interaction point of view, or from a just kind of cracking through the work point of view. You know, I don't know, I feed off people, which is why 2020 has been a bit at times, because I've struggled at home a bit more. But the large corporates, it's great. You've got very structured paths, development routes, loads of people to help you in the role, help you learn and grow. Sometimes you're a bit more protected in a bigger team. You're like less exposed. Definitely early in my career, I worked when I was a graduate. I was just, gosh, so new to everything, you know, that I was working in a team with other business analysts. How nice is that? You know, you've got someone to talk to someone will ask you to do something, you've got someone to ask how to do something. The downside to large corporates, I work like Vodafone, so big, you can't get anything done very quickly. It might have changed since I've moved, but there was a lot of paperwork for stuff. You think you know, we were still working very waterfall back then. They were just tinkering around with Agile just before I left. They're a bit slow on to the party on that one. So everything I did had loads of paperwork and governance, and the performance review process was really over the top and really bloated. So it just took you ages to do anything. You know, you wanted to recruit someone into the team, you had to fill in loads of forms and get signed off, and I don't know, but that was fine. It was a good trade-off for me depending on where I was in my career. However, smaller companies, I know it's a bit of a shock to the system when I worked for a part of Vodafone that was quite protected and small at the time before we got dragged into kind of the larger organization. It was such a shock for me because there weren't these policies and processes. Oh, I'm getting a bit of feedback there. Policies and processes. So yeah, and sometimes you kind of miss the security of having that, but again, you could make a decision and you just needed one other person to say, yeah, the budget is there, and then you're doing something and you're like, but at the same time, that can be a bit scary when you find you've got a bit more exposure, but a bit more control and ownership in a smaller company. Sometimes you can be a bit like, oh, imposter syndrome, am I ready for this? So, but it's funny because when I think I started, because I've spent a probably more proportion in large corporates compared to now, there's only 100, well, there's 100 of us in Codurance globally. That's quite small for me. And the Manchester team is like only a small proportion of that currently. But I'm loving it because I think I was ready for that. I was ready. I'd learned so much from the large corporates. It's like almost now I bring a lot of those learnings and I know what worked and what didn't work. And I'll be saying to the senior leadership team, oof, have we not got that? Well, should we put that in place? Because I just think that would help, you know, our people to have a bit more structure around something, so we're not reinventing the wheel every time. Or to the point, I'd be like, oh no, let's not do that and put loads of steps in it and loads of paperwork, because I've been on the receiving end and it's just really painful. So let's not implement that process. And I just got to, hopefully I'm finding the balance out of the two, but I'm very much enjoying the job. And again, it's what's right for you right now. If someone had given me the role of director in a Vodafone, I'd probably be like, you know, for me, I know that I could manage it with my work life as well. So it's all about the balance between the role and what you're trying to get out of your life in general. So this is 100% the right place for me and the right fit for role and company size right now.
Do you want me to read my next one for you?
Yeah, go on then, yeah.
So looking forward, 2020 is finally coming to a close, but do you anticipate offices to go back to a physical setting, and including Codurance? And how does this affect early career opportunities? Because we've seen the market kind of fluctuate. Some places like AO are just, you know, putting a blanket ban on junior developers until they feel that they can bring them into the teams.
Right, okay, interesting. Yeah.
What's your thought on this?
So I'm thinking the first part of the question, I definitely think we will return in some form for a majority of companies. And I think the nice thing that'll be, and this is where Codurance is at, it'll be at people's discretion as well. To a point, I think there'll be a long period well into 2021 maybe even throughout the whole of next year. Of, I know I've got people on the Manchester team, some will be more up for coming back to the office, but again on their terms. Like, even I'm going to be like, well, I'm not going to be in 4 or 5 days a week. I've just told you all how relentless I find commuting and working and managing family life. I will be finding a balance. So it's, you know, maybe 3 on a good week, you know, days in the office, and I'll be picking and choosing them like where I can. So I think it's in our, I think the benefit is we'll all return and on our own schedule. And if you're working for a sensible company, I know Codurance, it will very much be when people feel ready. I'll have people on the team that won't be ready for a really long time. And if that's not impacting their work, their delivery to the client or the client engagement, that is fine for me as well. We've all realized that we were probably unnecessarily all in the office all of the time previously. So I think there'll be a blend of how people return. I think very sensible companies will incorporate people's own thoughts and feelings into what that looks like. How does it affect early career opportunities? It's interesting, AO, so I didn't know AO were doing that.
I'm not sure if it's still in place, but they were for a long period.
I think I'd like to think it's not going to hinder the workplace too much. Like I say, so many companies need great technical talent right now. So there's an element of a mindset's moved on. We need to find a way that you can hire people into the team remotely, regardless of role, okay, or experience. You need to find a way for that to work. And yeah, and I think it'll be a very, very long time, if ever, that we're all back in the office all together. So we should be looking for always alternatives now. That, you know, at the start of lockdown, I was like, oh, well, we'll wait to do that till it's over. Like, and it's like, I just wouldn't say that now in November, because it's like, no, we just need to find new ways of working, new ways to do things that work for people and companies. So yeah, I would hope it shouldn't. We are changing the ways of working, and it should not impact people being recruited into the team. I'd be really surprised and sorry if that was happening. Couldn't you, like, on a big scale?
Yeah, I think it's just they're just gonna have a problem later down the line. There's gonna be a bottleneck of lots of mids and then no juniors coming through. So I do think it's probably a short-term approach. But the last question that we've got is from Matt, who works in tax at the minute. Amelia, I'm looking at a career change quite late in life, and thinking about job candidates that you have come across. How relevant is experience gained in previous non-tech careers?
Yeah, loads, absolutely loads. I don't know, Matt, if you were there for the start of the presentation, but for me, this is where you get to shine, because like I just pulled out, a lot of my experience doesn't come from something I learned at uni necessarily, or something I've learned on the job. It's just who I am. Like I was a good BA, I was a good project manager, because I like people, I like bringing people together, all the things I mentioned. I'm organized, I'm passionate about stuff, I'm good at delivery and holding people accountable. They're not things that literally I learned from a textbook. They're just what come naturally to me as a person. So yes, there are things. Oh, someone joining. They are, so know who you are, know what, when I think of myself, and this might be another really terrible analogy, maybe I need to work on these, but like I see myself when I go into like a new job or a new role, I have a tool belt, right? And in my tool belt, there's like who Amelia is, what I bring to the team as a person, like I've said before, as a skill set, just things that I'm naturally good at, they're just in me. And yeah, things I've learned, and, you know, and the tech and stuff like that. But the combination of what's in my little like tool belt, that's what makes me me, and that is unique, and no two people will have the same tool belt. So I would say, Matt, just think about who you are, some of the great stuff that you did in your previous career, and things that come naturally to you, the great space you like to be in. It might be you're a very detailed person, and you're great with things like this. Also, some of the difficult kind of business or client engagements that you might have been on, how you tackle problems, what your general mindset is to dealing with things. So you can talk about non-technical examples to bring to life how good you'd be in the next role. And yes, it's in a different role and capacity as an engineer, but business is still business and we still get the same challenges, and you will have faced some of those in a previous role. So yeah, just do some reflection about who you are, what you've learned, some of the experiences you've had in that role, and they will be applicable. Yeah, and then you just need to get your tool belt out and you're learning all your tech and developer tool skills now, like poo poo, and you can pop them in like through everything you're learning with Manchester Code. So yeah, just build it out along with your technical skill set. So, and I think it's amazing when we've got people in Codurance that have done career change. Like, you know, there's one guy, Tom, who I think is absolutely amazing, and he went through our internal academy process, and he was like, what was he? Was he a maths teacher or a high school down in London? And he was just like, this is not for me, and he changed his career and he's having a great time and he's really well regarded. So loads of career changes in Codurance. So just keep going and do not discount your previous career. It will be really, really helpful and valuable going forward, but just take some time to reflect on that and pull out the bits that you think would be helpful for an employer.
Fantastic. So I've just got one last point. You've just mentioned that your academy, Amelia. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how that feeds into the business?
Yeah, sure. So we do our own internal 12-week academy, and it's something that is like, it's one of the core values and beings of Codurance. So not necessarily everyone goes through the academy, but people coming in at that more entry or junior level developer will join our academy. So one of our co-founders, Sandro, wrote the kind of excellent software craftsman book, and we have some very key values about excellent software delivery and craftsmanship for our craftspeople. So we just want to make sure, because we are a consultancy, because we, you know, our clients are buying our services, are buying our technical excellence, we just need to make sure that every person we put on a client in client engagement has the skill sets we would expect from one of our craftspeople. And so we do 12 weeks, and it's all the kind of stuff that I'm sure you're going through around TDD, and then they change the modules all the time. We do obviously just some general delivery and agile practices, and some other stuff. Maybe I need to go through it myself and just get a bit closer to some of the stuff. I know, because I'm still relatively-ish new into the role, I am trying to see how we can make it work. The great thing for us right now is it's all remote. So as and when we kind of build out the Manchester offering to put people into that, it's quite easy and there's less travel involved. Whereas old world, we would have, you know, they would have probably traveled to London for that, which is interesting. So yeah, it's a 12-week, and we run them a few times a year. And it's interesting, like, people have been working as developers in industry, but they just know that they're not developing their skills, they're not at the best of their capability. And I know for developers like yourselves, like, people get so passionate about just being the best developer they can be and writing the best code. And that's what I love about working in tech. And people have taken like almost a pay cut to come and work for Codurance, to go into the academy. It is paid, but, you know, and then you kind of pick your career back up, you know, after the 12 weeks. But just while you're on the academy, people might have that pay cut because they just know that they're going to learn and be the best kind of developer at the end of it. And I just think that's amazing, and just goes to show you the mindset of the great people that work in tech, where it's not always about the trimmings, it's about them getting the best that they can be in their role. And I absolutely love that passion and dedication. And like I say, it will always be rewarded when they choose to kind of crack on with their career and move through some of our other roles when they come out the side of the academy.
Okay, so Amelia, being really, really pushy here, well, no, I'm not being cheeky. Do you have any entry-level roles coming up in 2021 that some of our people can maybe look at applying to?
I would say the thing with our academy is there is because of the work that Codurance do, we do often take people still into the academy that are coming in with an amount of experience and development skills and practices. I'm more than happy, Kirsty, if you let me, because I know I gave you a sneak peek of the kind of job spec, and I know it says London, so give me a few minutes after this call and I'll just speak to our recruitment team and get it branded from Manchester, because, you know, I like to not have London across all the things we're doing, because obviously I'm very protective about everything we do in Manchester. But I'll send you the job spec. I'll put some the Manchester notes on it, and just let people read it. We're always recruiting into the academy, you know, to start and when the next cohort is. But there is an element of experience that is required to get in the academy. But if the right person were to come from Manchester Code and they met the criteria for that academy, we would definitely look at that person. But like I said before, some people have come from other roles and then come into the academy. So it's just about making sure that there's that minimum entry-level requirements being met. But if they are, perfect. And I am really passionate about growing our intake into the Manchester Academy, because it's I've not done it yet in the 5 months that I've been in, or the academy since I've been in. I've been London and Barcelona focused. I've been recruiting in other areas. So yeah, give me 2 minutes after this and I will share Manchester view, and happy for you to share that with the team.
All right, thank you so much for that. It might not be applicable for everyone, but I thought there might be some people that have some, experience already in a similar role.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for spending so much time with us. We really appreciate it, and we've recorded this as well, and we'll do some follow-up blogs, and we'll promote Codurance, and we'll keep in touch over the long term. So thank you so much from all.
Perfect. Thanks, Kirsty. Do people, have you done a little screen grab? I know a lot of people have got their cameras off. Should we do a little screen grab? Do people want to put their cameras on
before we end?
Is everyone really camera shy today? Hey, there we go.
Somebody else joining us, Bill.
Oh, lovely. There you all are. Oh, well, I hope that was helpful. I know I've got a slightly different career path to some of you, but maybe there was a few things to take away there. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia.
Yeah, see you later. Bye-bye.